Because in Nigeria, when we get gifted something as much as prayers or money, for women, we kneel down, what the royal family will call a curtsy, but we literally take both knees to the ground. And
Wow.
that's a sign of respect, but it's also a sign of saying thank you. And similarly, men would, they would, literally lay down prostrate on the floor as a form of gratitude as well. Similarly, it's done in weddings, in our traditions. So we definitely use the body there. But I think I then witnessed it in a different way when I lived in Japan. And as the world and humanity evolves, it's getting even more. Like I use the word, and I've got a charity named after it, Sawabona. I see you. Even though it's just a word, there is gratitude somewhere in that. So, and I think and I've learned that word in Australia through my partner, who is, for want of a better word, he's Caucasian. And how fascinating that I learn all these things from different parts of the world and different people. So the embodiment of gratitude probably has moved me more than any other word.
Thank you from my heart, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you from my heart, from the bottom of my heart.
Stay connected to gratitude. Hit the follow button right now and join thousands of listeners tuning in each week. We're the Gratitude Seekers. Come join us. Hi, Gratitude Seeker. Welcome to a new episode of the Gratitude Podcast. Today with us, we have an engineer by profession, an entrepreneur by passion, and a transformation mindset coach by mission. She speaks to how we can work to shift humanity and engineer power in people despite predisposed trauma. She's an author, documentary producer, speaker, engineer, and all-around fearless thought leader on creating your own memo. A tireless advocate for self-empowerment and guiding others to create their own memo, Yemi Penn, our guest today, is a global businesswoman dedicated to raising awareness on worldly issues, daring humanity to act on creating a just world. And this part of the story I find even more interesting than this short intro. She was born in the UK. She was raised in Nigeria. She lived in Japan, and now she's living in Sydney. She's a citizen of the world. She has multiple businesses, and now she's in Sydney, Australia, here with us, talking about our favorite topic, gratitude. Welcome, Yemi.
Oh, thank you so much, Georgian. I'm sure you've heard it before, but your tone, your pace, your energy, you just describing me just actually made me feel really blessed. And I'm not trying to use any pun with the title of your podcast, but just made me grateful for how far I've come. So thank you. An absolute honor to be here.
My pleasure. It's an honor to have you here with me, with us. And I'm very grateful that we get to explore this topic together. So I'm always very curious about people that have traveled. Your experience is even more profound, having lived in so many places in the world and in so many cultures. I see this in myself whenever I travel and I go to different parts of the world. I get transformed. I get to see new things and understand new things. Um, and I'm curious, how has this experience of living in so many places changed you and influenced the person who you are today? And also, if you've seen some particularities in different cultures related to gratitude.
Oh, wonderful question. And once again, a question that, oh, I know it just comes from someone who is cultured, someone who is diverse. And this is the reason why I will always represent diversity of everything, thought. And that's exactly what I've learned from all the countries I've either traveled to or lived in. It was this opening of wanting to learn a different way of being. I didn't know that's what I was after. I knew I was after change. I knew I was after a certain level of excitement, even though I'm an introvert. Subconsciously, I just wanted to know, how does the other person live? What other reality is there that differs from mine? And that would have started from Nigeria. I mean, while I was young in London, yes, I have some memories, but then Nigeria was very different. And that was contrast. And I think that was probably the first introduction of contrast in culture, contrast in understanding, contrast in language, and therefore contrast in feelings and emotions. And effectively, that probably got imprinted in my DNA from obviously my parents making those decisions to me now wanting to taste a bit more. And I have to say that one thing all those different countries has done is that it's widened my awareness of how much I do not know.
That's wonderful and very wise. I think, yeah, we have a tendency to think that we know so much, but
yes,
when we are open to new understandings and to new ways of being, we understand that actually there's so much more to life and to how it can be lived by different people in different parts of the world. So I want to get back to the second part of my question, because I love exploring gratitude from the perspective of different people in different parts of the world, different cultures, different religions. And I'm very curious if you've seen certain things manifested in different ways in the places where you've lived.
Yeah, definitely. So living in Okinawa, Japan was quite interesting. And it's funny, I mean, I know this is voice, but just imagine my hands together as if it's in a prayer motion. And I don't know whether it was Thailand or Japan, but I think they both played a role where when I'd go shopping or buy something from the local Okinawans, there was this gratitude with a mini bow and their hands together. And I think that shifted me. That shifted me because, yes, I think I had grown up learning to express gratitude by saying thank you, but I'd never seen the body be used. Actually, that might be a bit of lie, be used in that way, because in Nigeria, when we get gifted something as much as prayers or money, for women, we kneel down, what the royal family will call a curtsy, but we literally take both knees to the ground. And
Wow.
That's a sign of respect, but it's also a sign of saying thank you. And similarly, men would, they would, literally lay down prostrate on the floor as a form of gratitude as well. Similarly, it's done in weddings, in our traditions. So we definitely use the body there. But I think I then witnessed it in a different way when I lived in Japan. And as the world and humanity evolves, it's getting even more. Like I use the word, and I've got a charity named after it, Sawubona, which, and I need to get this right, I tend to get it confused. I don't know whether it's the Zulu nation, where it's I see you. Even though it's just a word, there is gratitude somewhere in that. So, and I think and I've learned that word in Australia through my partner, who is, for want of a better word, he's Caucasian. And how fascinating that I learn all these things from different parts of the world and different people. So the embodiment of gratitude probably has moved me more than any other word.
I find this fascinating. It's so interesting that, okay, we're used to hearing the gratitude. We're used somehow to uttering the words. But when we see it in this way, it's so different, and it's also a part of how we communicate. Even though we are just using our voices right now, when we interact with people in real life, we communicate with other parts of our body as well, and you can see gratitude in people's eyes, in people's faces. But I think it's very interesting by using the hands, and also even more so for me because the artwork for the Gratitude podcast is actually somehow painting a cartoon of myself with that position,
Wow. Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, once again, how fascinating. How fascinating. And I wonder when humanity will bind together and say, can you see how a symbol and a seated position, or how we place our hands, can unify us in gratitude? It's powerful.
Yeah, definitely. I love this. And yeah, it's these things that can actually bring us together, because nowadays I believe it's pretty hard in some situations, because one way or another there are many occurrences in which we get divided. We think,
Yes.
okay, you are different from me, I'm different from you, because you believe that and I believe that. But I think it's so important that we get together in these kinds of things and see
Yes.
the fact that we are together in this, and we're one.
Yes, yes, and yes. I agree with all of that. I think that's going to be the quest, the opportunity for humanities to, and I know we have so many teachers who have shared it, of where is the joy in our differences. It's just it's crazy to me, like just already being in this podcast, just the vibration of your voice for me exudes gratitude, and what it's doing for me is slowing me down in what I'm saying and thinking, and that's difference. Like, that's got to be celebrated, because it's different from what or how I would typically show up in other interviews. I just want the world, I want the world to see and feel that.
I love that. Thank you so much for your kind words, and yeah, I really appreciate it. And I think indeed it's very important to become aware of these things. They might be very small, and we might just miss them, but they do influence us, hopefully in a positive way. The same way, or the opposite way, actually, in which the news, for instance, influences us when it's very fast-paced, and it's a lot of information, a lot of things that we should be aware of, or should be frightened by. It's very, very different. And I love the fact that you mentioned in the beginning the word contrast, because contrast is one of the best ways to help us experience gratitude, because when we are in our cozy homes, for instance, a lot of the day, we don't appreciate how good it actually is. We don't see it unless we go outside and it's very warm or it's very cold, and we get back and it's like, oh my God, it's so good to be home.
Yes, very true. Very true.
And I can only imagine the contrasts that you've experienced. And I would love if you would be so kind to help us, to take us there and to describe the kinds of contrasts that you have experienced that have helped you become a more grateful person.
The first thing that comes to mind is, some of my taglines is this transmutation of pain to power. So I truly believe that most of my painful moments actually have ended up being my most grateful ones. And, I do this thing with some of my clients and more so in organizations where we call it pain to power mapping. And the gift you've given me is sprinkling gratitude in that, because it's really a recipe that's overlooked. So if I just give very simple example, I remember my mum sending me to boarding school in Nigeria. And, in all my interviews, I have to say this, because when I say boarding school and I've got a British accent, people think, oh, I went to a nice boarding school like Prince Charles and Prince William. And no, none of that. It was like a scene of Survivor, but there's no camera crew. You might not even be given some bags of rice. You definitely can't go fishing. So very much fend for yourself at the age of 11. And I was scared. I had lived in the UK for some years where there was running water from the taps, where you could just walk down the shop and get some sweets. To go into a boarding school that was in Nigeria, so not in the UK, it was out back, so as deep into the suburbs as possible. If you tried to run away, there was every possibility that you were not going to make it anywhere because it was just so far by car. And to make it more challenging, my mum had left to go to the UK with my 3 younger sisters, and my 2 brothers were going to a day school and not boarding school. I think I remember hearing my heart literally crack and break, either from genuine heartbreak or just being scared. And even just reliving it now, I'm just thinking of the trepidation that would have been within my body. But it felt painful. And although it may have taken a few years to get this, the gift that opportunity gave me was resilience like no other. The gift it gave me was the appreciation for the contrast I had had from turning on the taps to walking 3 kilometers with a bucket on my head. They also gave me the tools. So I'm about to start living as much off-grid, meaning trying not to rely on society to give me electricity, but relying on the sun and using solar panels or compost toilets, like really trying to change bits of my life. And hadn't I gone to boarding school, that would feel like I was having less. It's the constant contrast. And I guess what I want to share is that even though it may have taken me a few years, possibly even a couple of decades, to really realize the authentic power I got from that, truthfully, it's been giving me resilience all along. So that moment truly, truly shaped me. And similarly, you look at the statistics of divorce and separation. When I went through my divorce, I felt like a failure. I did, not as much because I'd been doing work and I was beginning to learn to love myself, because that was the only way that I was going to really survive and thrive. But what I looked at was lessons from previous relationships having gone really wrong, was what happens when I make the conscious choice to have a great relationship with my ex-husband, the man I share a son with. What would it look like? And I found everything in me to make that relationship count. Whether that meant when he came over from the States to visit us in Australia, making sure he didn't have to pay for a hotel room. Come stay at the house, be close to your son. If necessary, I'll go stay in a hotel. These were things that I didn't have before. And one role that gratitude played is, and I read this in the book called The Magic by Rhonda Byrne, was I made sure I let him know what I was thankful for in him. Something I hadn't done in my first relationship with my daughter's dad. Not that I didn't appreciate him, I did. It's just that there's something very different when you let people know. So when I thank people now, as you may have noticed, I've done so much. I mean, it's literally part of my personality now, is when I thank people, I don't just thank them anymore. I tell them why I thank them. That's the true juice of gratitude, is to let you know that it's not superficial. And even though there is great benefit in at least saying thank you, even if you don't kind of mean it, it's a little better than not doing it at all. I want people to know. And I did that. I did that because I did not want a storyline that says another divorce has gone messy and the child has to pay for it. It was showing gratitude for what he did do and just not focusing on whatever it was he didn't do. And I tell you, the relationship with my ex-husband almost makes me want to weep, because it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. We co-parent. My son has lived with his dad now for the past year. I went over to see him, and my ex-husband and his wife, they take me out for dinner. We were dressed up as Harry Potter for Halloween in the States. I've never seen examples of positive relationships after divorce like that, and I created it. And I think I know gratitude had a lot to do with it. Oh, wonderful question. I've never answered that, and it just kind of landed within me. So thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. And I love the fact that you mentioned this part about saying thank you, really meaning it, and really being specific about it. And I definitely felt it, and I'm sure that our audience have felt it as well. When you thanked me, I could really feel it, and it was really something deep. And when that happens, it's just another level of gratitude, and it's great for both people.
Yes.
In my opinion, like, you get to experience a more profound gratitude yourself, and I get to experience that as well. And now actually our listeners are doing that, hopefully, also, so it's a wonderful way of amplifying gratitude in ourselves and in others. And I think it's something very powerful, and it's a great tip for our listeners as well. How did you get to start this habit? Like, when did this change happen, or were you always so open to going so deep into gratitude?
No, I wasn't. Like most of your guests, haven't listened to some of your podcasts and just watching. A lot of us think that we are grateful. I've got a teenage daughter, and I think I said once, I would have said something like, you're not grateful, or I can't remember. And she was really hurt. And there might have been some misunderstanding of, it was me trying to get her to understand the blessings that contrast can give. And it's very hard to teach it. I think you need to experience it, which is why most people feel like they go through pain. But if we look at it from a different perspective, there's so much joy and growth in it. But when her and I decided to have that conversation, I decided to do this gratitude, list with her. And that was where, I'd read the book The Secret by Rhonda Byrne, and I found that powerful. I'd be trying to see if I could change a traffic light while I was trying to get to a destination, or if I could magic myself a car spot. It just became a game, The Secret, the law of attraction. And then my sister mentioned the magic or whatever it's called. And it was just 28 days. And it was hard. I mean, firstly, when the first task said, write 10 things you are grateful for every day. I remember thinking, this is going to be hard. And that was when I realized, wow, if I can't find 10 things I'm grateful for in a day, then I'm literally just existing. I'm not even really taking note of the clean water I'm drinking, or taking note of the trees, giving me the ability to breathe clean air, or the bus driver who set his alarm for 4 a.m. so that he could pick me up from my bus stop at 5 a.m. These were things for granted. And it didn't mean I wasn't grateful for what they did, but I just wasn't slow enough. And so the magic in that 28 days really ingrained in me. And then when it got to the part of, the difficult relationship, right? 10 things you're grateful for, that blew my mind, because the minute I let go, the minute my ego took a backseat, it turns out there are so many things to be grateful for within the person in which you think you have a difficult relationship with. It was profound. And the amount of brilliance that was coming out. I mean, just speaking to you, there is, I feel like there's something going on in my body. It's like there's a party. It shifts it, and all of a sudden it just attracts more goodness. And some people think it's about, being grateful to get lots of goodies back. It really isn't about that, although I can say that just happens. I just think it's just part of the philosophy of gratitude. But the things that would show up in my life, or maybe it was just the things that I was now seeing that I never saw before, it became a no-brainer. It became a no-brainer. And now when I can, for someone who didn't like eye contact, when I can, I like to use soft eyes, because my eyes were very piercing at some point, to just let someone know that I see them when I say thank you. And I've just made it part of my life. I mean, what do they say? It takes 6 or is it 12 weeks to hold on to a habit. And so it's part of my life, and I do it in my relationships, and I do it with my kids, and in all my business transactions.
That's wonderful. I mean, this is exactly what we're looking for here on the Gratitude Podcast, and what we want as gratitude seekers to be able to be the change that we want to see in the world, be those people that are grateful, that are giving gratitude, that express their appreciation. Because at least in my experience, what I've seen, that one of the things that people yearn for is actually appreciation, being seen, being appreciated. And for whatever reason, there aren't many people that actually give that appreciation, that actually say thank you and mean it. And it's the one of the juices of life. Let's not say it's the juice of life, but one of them. When we hear that what we are or what we do is appreciated, that makes our hearts sing, and we just want to do more and be more and grow like a flower.
Yes. Yes. I mean, living in Australia, I'm living on Indigenous land where the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders. And a couple of years ago, I don't know exactly how long, an apology was made for a lot of the impacts that would have had on generations. And, just one of the stories is the stolen generations, how they'd be separated from family. And that apology, although it wasn't, it might be another form of gratitude, was actually acknowledging that we see you for the pain we caused. And that created a lot of healing, restoration, and maybe gratitude after an apology is something that if our leaders did more of, like you said, because everybody wants to feel appreciated, I think there'd be a true shift, a major shift. But I guess it starts with us as individuals, and that's why I'm grateful for the Grateful podcast, because people can hear this and start applying it in their life, and then it has the trickle effect that it gets around the world of of ways in which we can show appreciation for others, but also ourselves.
Exactly. And getting to this point, I love something that you mentioned before us going live. You mentioned that gratitude is the word for 2020 for you. Can you share a bit more about this?
Yeah, well, 2022. I think you're still stuck in 2020. In 2022, next year. I know, it's probably etched in everyone's mind. Yes, I went to an event last week and lady had some cards. And usually I try to get words that I'd like to affiliate with, but I saw it and gratitude just came up. And, I embody gratitude, I believe, and I can always do more. But the reason why I chose that for the next year is because it really is the juiciest place to be in. I don't know. Have you ever found out? Let's just say you found the cure to one of the most crippling diseases, whether it's cancer, sickle cell. You're gonna want to share it with everybody. For me, that's what gratitude has done for my life. Something I teach my kids. Sometimes I'm a little bit harsh with my words, but I tell them, you've got to be grateful for what you've got. You've really got to, whatever you believe in, whether it's the Bible, the Quran, like almost every teacher and ancient scholar has somehow made reference to that, being grateful for what you have. Everything else is going to fall around that. I know that when I'm grateful, I'm just going to be looked after. Even though I might want to put prosperity and put good health and put it, just because with gratitude, even when things aren't going well, there is still enrichment of my life. And considering I love that feeling of juiciness and feeling enriched, it's the word for me, because I'm good with that. I'm really good with just being grateful for what I have, what's coming, and what I'm creating.
Wow, I love it so much and on so many levels. Firstly, I think it's so important to give a direction for the new year, and I think it's as important to keep it simple as much as possible.
Yes.
And meaningful, of course. And like I say in the description of the Gratitude podcast, I believe that gratitude and Thanksgiving aren't just a celebration that we do once per year, but it's something that we can do more often, and we can enjoy its benefits more often. And by choosing the word gratitude for the next year, we give this beautiful direction to get back to. Whenever things are great, we can enjoy them more through gratitude, and whenever things are challenging, we can use gratitude and the resilience that it gives us to either accept or transform those experiences into something better. But I love this idea, and I love the fact that you shared it with us. And what I'm hoping, gratitude seekers, you might think about your own word. It can be gratitude or appreciation or thankfulness or something similar. You can choose another word, of course, if something else is relevant for you. But what I love about what Yemi just shared with us is that she has this focus, and it's very inspiring for me to think about this new year in this wonderful way, choosing one thing to focus on and to explore within us and outside of us as well, right?
Yes. Beautifully said. Thank you.
Thank you. I think it's amazing, and I'm really happy that you shared this with us. And that we got to spend this time together and enjoy gratitude and the appreciation we have for each other. And since it's going to be the last interview of this year, I'm hoping that our listeners will be thinking about their own word for 2020. And I'm hoping it's gratitude, but it's up to everyone to choose it.
Yes.
Yeah, I love it. And since we're at this topic, I'm really curious, in all of these experiences that you had, if you had some people that you're particularly grateful for, like people that have really made a difference and you would like to mention.
Ooh, George and Sutton. I was not expecting that question, but I should. And there are a lot of people, but the people who came to the front of my mind almost immediately was my uncle. Don't know how much you know about my story, but a lot of the work I do is in the trauma space. And my uncle, for want of a better word, abused his power, his sexual power over me as a little girl. And, you know, the reason why it's thrown me off is because I get my downloads. So I like to honor myself. There's a part of me that's grateful for him, his existence, not necessarily the action or abuse of the power, because without that event, I couldn't be helping the thousands of people I'm already helping now. I would have had no point of reference. I wouldn't be able to have gone through the transformation to use my voice in the way I am, and to do it with compassion and a hunger for people to transmute that pain. So I'd be doing a disservice to the workings of the world if he wasn't on that list. A number of women, the matriarch in my family, I'm really grateful to them, because the resilience they've given me is like no other, and the gift they've given me to be able to fly away, i.e. to Japan, to Australia, it doesn't get better than that. It doesn't get better than giving me the roots to my ancient culture, but then also giving me the wings to go and learn somebody else's. So I'm really, really grateful to the matriarch within my family. And those are the two that came, but trust me, there are so many people. And so it's important I honor them in the moment it came up for me.
Wow. I love it. I think it's so powerful that you mentioned this this experience about the trauma. And in my own experience and in the experience of many people, they have managed to find gratitude after these kinds of experiences, many of them traumatic. And yeah, we are the lucky ones that we were able to find the gratitude in these experiences. And yeah, I'm sure that there are many people suffering one way or another, or in pain, that aren't yet able to find the gratitude in that experience. And I'm really grateful that you are doing this work, and you get to understand them, where they come from, and help them see more of what's possible to perceive from that experience. So
yes,
amazing.
How many thank yous can we get in a podcast? Thank you.
Yeah, it's a good question. Unlimited. Yeah, there's that's one of the beautiful part about gratitude. There's never too much, in the sense that we can always experience more gratitude more deeply in more areas of our life. And on this note, I would like to wish our listeners an amazing 2021, 22. Sorry, oh my God. And yeah, I think it's really wonderful that we're living these days, and yeah, I think we can always enjoy more gratitude in our life, and I hope that they will stick around and continue with gratitude and with learning more about it and exploring more about gratitude in their own life. Yemi, thank you so much for being here with us, for doing this special episode with us, and for giving us so many inspiring ideas and so much wisdom. I really appreciate you, and I really appreciate your voice and how you manage to speak beautifully and kindly with me and with our listeners, and how you express your gratitude. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hey, Gratitude Seeker, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this interview. I really appreciate it. And if you could think of one person that would also benefit from it, share it with them. It might actually be the inspiration that they need to make their day or maybe even their life much better. Thank you so much once again. This has been Georgian Benta. Don't forget to keep seeking and spreading gratitude.